change the outcome at all, did it? So I'd like to congratulate Francis Anderson, Alice Matthews, Edna Walsh, and Kelly Willenberg for their appointment to the Greenville Medical Health Center Board. Are you here? Either of those here? Okay. Congratulations. And that brings us down to the Greenville Legislative Delegation Transportation Committee. The committee met and reviewed these applications. We found all four to be qualified. We also found that Mr. Epps and Mr. Hughes have had very good attendance at the Delegation Transportation Committee meetings. I think they both only missed one meeting over the last year of their appointment. So we would recommend, give them to you as qualified and ready for your decision. With that being said, there are 3 vacancies. So if you would, while we take the roll, we will do that. And if you would give us 3 names, up to 3 names, and we'll get started from there. Ms. Bennett?
Senator Corbin,
Epps, Hughes, Eichberger.
Senator Loftus,
Epps, Hughes, and Eichberger.
Senator Allen,
Epps, Hughes, Eichberger.
Senator Turner,
Epps, Hughes, Eichberger.
Senator Talley,
Epps, Hughes, Eichberger.
Representative Willis,
Epps, Hughes, and Robert. Seems like everybody has a different way to pronounce his last name.
Representative Burns,
Epps, Hughes, and Eichberger.
Representative Haddon,
Patrick, Paul, and Robert.
Representative Elliott,
Epps, Hughes, and Eichberger.
Representative Dillard, Representative Robinson, Representative Smith,
Epps, Hughes, and Etzberger.
Representative Trantham, Representative Chunley,
Epps, Hughes, and Connor.
Representative Allison, Candidate Epps had 100%, Hughes 94, Robert at 98%, and Brett with 1.
Okay. Or Patrick Epps, Paul Hughes. Hey, Patrick, how are you? Welcome and congratulations. Paul? Didn't see him here. No. Robert Etzberger. Robert, you here? Red Picado? No? Patrick, again, thank you for your service, and we look forward to having you make good decisions on road issues in the future. That brings us down to the Committee on Municipal Affairs, Greenville Health Authority Board Trustees nominations. Mr. Burns.
Chairman Smith, we met on September 30th at 2 o'clock here in this building. And we had a unanimous recommendation from the committee to seat these 3 that came over as nominations from the Greenville Health Authority. And I would add to it that we're just for the record, we're working through a discussion brought to us by a couple of our members of maintaining a certain level of diversity on this board and I guess other boards. And in particular, on this board, I've spoken to President Liston at the Greenville Health Authority regarding the wishes that came out of that meeting and some of the facts that came out of that meeting. And I want that to go on the record as well. But all three of these people were passed on unanimously.
Okay.
For consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. And we have 2 vacancies on the at-large and the 1 vacancy for the Lawrence at-large. Yes, sir, Mr.
Mr.
Oh,
Chairman,
Allen, Mr. Allen.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to commend the chairman of the committee and in particular as it relates to this group and his listening to those members that had concerns and his willingness to work with them. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, also, Ms. Hardaway is out of the area, and Mr. Young is not able to be here at a meeting in Lawrence County tonight, but I believe that Dr. Williams is here, and I'd like for him to be recognized as a candidate if he's here. If he'd stand, there he is.
Welcome, Dr. Williams.
Thank you.
With that being said, do I hear a motion? So move, second, okay. And this is for all 3, is that correct?
All 3.
All right, and these are also elected, correct? Or these are not nominations, correct? Or is this for nominations?
To elect.
To elect, okay? With that being said, you got 3 vacancies, three applicants here. These are nominations from the GHA board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move we just elect these by acclamation, please. All 3 of them at once.
I was just about to get there, Mr. Burns. Thank you very much.
Just trying to speed the meeting along. It's getting late.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I can use all the help I can get. With that being said, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay, and the ayes have it. And that brings it down to the nominations process on boards and commissions, which we first went up as the county state agencies. And this has to do with the foster care review board. We met and considered the Patricia Bowens for her appointment. This is a appointment. This is a nomination for tonight, and we found her qualified. Do I hear a motion? There's two vacancies and 1 applicant, so we could go ahead and elect and waive. the rules.
I'd make a motion to nominate Tricia Owens and appoint her by acclamation,
And to waive the rules.
waive the rules.
Okay, everybody got that motion? Do I hear a second? Got a second? Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Ms. Bowen, are you here? Congratulations. We will get you a notice in the mail. That brings us down to the Committee on Medical Affairs, Municipal Medical Affairs, the Junction Chapel Fire District. Mr. Burns.
All right, Mr. Smith was found to be qualified, and he is the only applicant. So at the appropriate time, I'd like, since he's qualified, for us to waive the rules and elect him also by acclamation.
Okay, we have that motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay, and the ayes have it. Brings us down to the Committee on State Highways and GPATs, the Greenville Legislative Delegation, Transportation Committee. We have 1 reappointment here. That is Mark Thornton. Mark Thornton, we also looked at his attendance record. He has had very good attendance at the meeting. I think he was 100% in his attendance at the meetings. We found him qualified. Do I hear a motion? Is that the way the rules and go ahead and electing? Okay. All right. So this is waiving the rules and electing by acclamation. Do I hear any objection to that? Seeing and hearing none, so ordered. Next one is the Greenville Spartanburg Airport Commission. We have 1 vacancy and 1 reappointment. Ms. Valerie Miller. Valerie has also been on the board for, I think, 7 years now. and has done a very, her attendance has been very good there, and this is up for reappointment. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead.
Mr.
I'll
Allen?
yield to the chairman. I just saw Senate 7 there, but I'll yield. See what he wants.
Okay. See, Alan yields to Mr. Burns.
I wasn't going to take his thunder away. I was going to yield to him, but we'll do the same thing together. We'd like Ms. Miller, since she's qualified and has a good record over there, we'd like to waive the rules and elect her by acclamation also.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Mr. Allen seconds. Do I hear any discussion? Do I hear any objection to the unanimous consent request? Hearing none, so ordered. Congratulations, Ms. Miller. That brings us down to the Greenville Transit Authority. We have 2 vacancies. We have a reappointment here, and I think that is it. Yes, okay. No other applications for it. Ms. Adelaide Matney and Amanda Warren. I think Amanda has been a fairly new appointment to the board. I think it was her first year. She had very good attendance. Adelaide, Addie Matney. I think everybody knows her as Addie. Has been on the board for a while. One of the things that she has been pushing for, and she's had very good attendance, has been the whole idea that they have used and using their data and so forth to kind of guide them through this whole process of where to take and put their priorities and focus. So with that being said, we found her qualified, as well as Ms. Warren qualified, and for your consideration. Do I hear a motion? Yes, sir, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would move that we accept these 2 as nominated and that we waive the rules and elect them by acclamation.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for unanimous consent to go ahead and elect these individuals. Do I hear any discussion? Yes. Yolanda, how are you?
That we had discussed earlier, the need for diversity
Mhm.
on these boards and commissions. So when these names come before the committee, we want to keep that need for diversity in mind when appointments are made. So we can give equal opportunity to many of the others who may be interested in serving.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Any other discussion? That being said, unanimous consent. Does anyone object? Seeing and hearing none, so ordered. And that brings us down to the liaison committee with the Greenville County School Board, Mr. Loftus. Greenville County First Steps, Mr. Loftus. We have four vacancies.
You threw me off there.
That's okay.
These are appointments. Up for appointment, not, am I correct on that?
For nomination.
We're nominated.
Yes, sir.
Nominations. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The committee met earlier. We found that there are Andrea Washington, Corey Powell, and Deborah Vanderveer were all qualified for this. We reported them out as qualified for these, qualified to be appointed.
Okay. Do I hear a motion? There are 4 vacancies and we have 3 applications.
Motion to nominate all 3.
Okay. And you want to waive the rules or just nominate?
I think
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Rachel?
2 of them should be the Senate members of the delegation, or there's 2 members can be Senate appointed and 2 House appointed. So the House members should pick and the Senate members should pick.
So the Senate members have 2. We need to, so the Senate needs to take and vote on 2 and the House needs to vote on 2.
Right, we still have another vacancy, so one will be short one. They could, have another person. We
Okay.
only have 3 applicants.
So which are these? Did they apply for a Senate appointment or a House appointment? Or did it apply that way?
2 applied for House and 1 applied for Senate. Let me look real quick.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Ms. Allen.
my understanding of what the secretary is indicating that the Senate would only vote on one of these, because two of them
Or House.
applied for the House.
Yes, sir.
And so there would be a vacancy. I would think that the Senate would also have to deal with at some other point in time. Is that?
Correct. McDowell and Vanderveer applied for a House seat
Okay.
in the other.
And Ms. Washington applied for the Senate seat. Okay.
Correct.
All right. With that being said, House members, do I hear a motion for Corey McDowell and Deborah Vanderveer? Okay, Mr. Willis makes a motion that we nominate these two. Do you want to waive the rules and go ahead and elect them by acclamation by unanimous consent? Okay. Do I have a second? I have a second. Do I hear any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. And again, that's just the House members. All those nay, like nay. And the ayes have it. Ms. McDowell and Ms. Vanderbilt are elected by unanimous consent. Senate members, Andrea Washington, do I hear a motion? Mr. Allen has made a motion to elect Ms. Washington by acclamation and to waive the rules to elect her. We have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor, Senate members? Aye. All those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. So ordered. That brings us down to the Regional Education Center Advisory Board. Mr. Loftus.
Mr. Chairman, we have 5 vacancies and 2 applicants here. Renee Bacon, Diversity Inclusion Partner at Prisma Health, and James B. Hamlet, Principal of the Cyber Risk Analysis Group in Greenville. And so we found both of these to be qualified, meet the qualification. So we reported them out favorably.
Okay, so we have 5 vacancies. We have 2 applications. Do I hear a motion?
Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
Ms.
I
Robinson.
move that Ms. Bacon be elected by acclamation.
Ms. Bacon has been nominated and has requested that she be elected by acclamation, that we waive the rules. Do I hear a second? All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ross.
To that nomination, to that motion as well.
Okay, Ms. Rollins, you accept that?
I will
Okay,
accept that.
seconds accept that? Okay, so we have both of those now up for unanimous consent election to the Education Center Advisory Board. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay, and the ayes have it. So ordered. That brings us down to the Renewable Water Resources Committee, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee on the Renewable Water Resources were unable to meet. We tried to meet again this afternoon. We didn't have a quorum to meet officially. I think there was discussion on all 4 appointments or people up for appointment, and it would be the desire of the committee that we move all 4 through the nomination process. Go ahead and nominate all 4 of these names for the next meeting.
You make that in form of motion?
Motion.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay, and the ayes have it. So all 4 of them are nominated and will be considered for election at the next delegation meeting in January, correct? Ms. Bennett?
That's right.
Okay, all right. With that being said, we now have the report from, I'm sorry, Mr. Loftus? I know that Mr. Brett's here, Mr. Martin is here. Okay. Phyllis
Phyllis.
and Tom, you're here. Okay. All right. Thank you. And thank you very much for your interest. Yeah. And thank you, JD and Tim, for your service. That being said, Mr. Cox is not here. Do we have anyone from the ad hoc committee on PARD funds here that will take this up? You see the PARD request, Mr. Willis.
The PARD committee met last week and we all favorably voted out to approve all these PARD funds.
Okay.
Greenville County, City of Fountain, and City of Malden, and City of Simpsonville. The City of Greenville and one other municipality chose to have their monies carried over for another year.
Okay. All right. Mr. Willis makes that in the form of a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. Thank you very much, Mr. Willis. Wait, we'll get that to you. Okay, and that brings us down to the resolution on Duke Energy for years of service in Greenville County. Everybody has a copy of that resolution in your packet. Everybody have that with you? We also have someone here. Will, would you like to come up and chat a little bit about what we're doing here? And I think you have an invitation, is that right?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I'll be brief. I know y'all got a lot of other business. My name is Will Kenny. I'm here on behalf of Duke Energy tonight and wanted to first thank you for putting this resolution on the agenda. It's this resolution, we'll be presenting it to Duke at an event we want to invite y'all to. I think you may have gotten an electronic invitation. We want to make sure you get a hard copy. It's a energy leadership and economic growth in Greenville luncheon a week from Thursday at Floor Fields Champions Club. And the Duke Energy State President, Michael Callahan, will be presenting on energy issues and economic development issues in Greenville County. And this resolution just speaks broadly to Duke's history in the county, and we'll be, if y'all see fit to pass it tonight, we'll be presenting it to Duke at the meeting along with some other similar resolutions passed by local governments. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have.
Thank you, Mr. McKinney, very much. Any questions of Mr. McKinney?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve this resolution.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second? We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. Delegation members, thank you very much for your time and work here tonight. That brings us down to our appearances here tonight. And would ask everyone, because we have such a long list of those who want to speak to the delegation, who would keep it to 3 minutes. There's a time clock up on the wall there. You will see Mrs. Bennett will be keeping that going for us. And if you would just kind of keep up with that, then when we get close to that time, I'll probably give it a little high sign and that sort of thing. Ask you if it would also take in, remember our rules of decorum. I think everyone who would put in an application to speak for the delegation, we presented them with a copy of that. So if you would, please keep that in mind also. If not, then I will also talk with you a little bit about that. Okay. With that being said, yes, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I know that the Greenville Health Authority is very busy and working. And I just noticed that we did have the chairman of that board with us. I want them to know that we've seen them and heard them. If they have to leave, do feel free to obviously leave out on us. But I wanted to recognize the chairman. I see there, Stacy Mills.
Stacy, thank you very much for your service. Thank you for being here tonight. And I think we also have the president of Greenville Health Authority, Philip Liston.
Okay, right behind, right, Mr. Liston, you're right behind that third chair that you can't see over.
It's kind of hard to recognize both of you with your mask on. I mean, the thing that we have to live with nowadays, so right, Stacy? Yes.
Yes, sir. I have a compromise
hospitalized daughter at home, so
I understand. Yes, sir. I understand totally. Thank you very much for your service, Mr. Mills. Appreciate it very much. Any other? Okay, seeing here none. Our first presentation is by Angela Hurst. Angela? If you would, please state your name and your address for the record. As you come up, all of those who are coming to speak to us tonight, if you would do that, please.
Good evening, senators and House representatives of Greenville County. My name is Angela Hurst, and I am a president CEO of an organization, Step by Step Ministry Hope Project, located at 1225 Pendleton Street, Suite 6, Greenville, South Carolina. My organization provides housing to formerly incarcerated women who are in homelessness, as well as our agency provides outreach to formerly incarcerated men, women, and their families, including their children, at our Reentry Services Center on Pendleton Street. We have found, and we have data to document the difficulties that formerly incarcerated citizens, discrimination against marginalized citizens and their families face due to arrest and conviction histories. These are tax-paying citizens that many do not have a vehicle where they can share their voice, as well as we have a very limited amount of housing inventory, sustainable housing for this population to continue with their community reform in Greenville County, as well as those serving probation and parole to have the right to vote. We're speaking about tax-paying citizens who's living below poverty scale, don't have public transit that's accessible and affordable to livable wage jobs, such as BMW, ZF transmission, etc. My organization provides a large amount of transportation to the formerly incarcerated population to get to these jobs, which continues to strain our revenue and our operating budget. We also, during the time of COVID, and yes, we did receive CARES Act funding, had to place many of these families into motels because they've been living out of their cars with their children. Again, due to the barriers to opportunity to be able to access sustainable housing where their children will have sidewalks, playgrounds, and yard space and bikeways to play safely. And I'm coming here tonight to represent these difficulties to our senators, to our House of Representatives. We need your help. We're talking about tax-paying citizens that's working menial jobs to keep a roof over their head, to keep their families safe and themselves out of prisons and jails. This is a public safety threat.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst, very much. Appreciate you being here tonight. Appreciate your comments about those who are in need, particularly those who are incarcerated and who have served their sentences. Any comment, any question from the delegation? Yes, Ms. Robinson, then Mrs. Dillon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I have visited that facility on a number of occasions, and I can tell you that they do a marvelous job. They provide a wonderful service to our community. Thank you for coming and presenting your case today. And I am sure after hearing you that hearts will be open and minds will be elevated and doing more to help these individuals. Thank you.
You're welcome, Representative Robinson.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Ms. Dillard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just echo Representative Robinson's comments, and I want you to know, I want to encourage members of the delegation to have a visit over
Step by step.
at Ms. Kirk's organization, which is located in the west end of Greenville, in House District 23. And I want you also to know that she has been advocating on behalf of these women and their families for 22 years. So you may not, this might be your first time hearing about the organization and the work that they do. But I met this young lady in 1999, and she has been an advocate in the community and is doing a great job. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Dillard. Ms. Trantham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope it's okay if I call you Angela.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we probably can't dig too deep into this because there's a lot that goes into what you're providing for these women and their families. But if there was one thing that we could do that would make the most impact, can you just give me a quick answer? What would that be?
That one thing that I believe will make the biggest impact is access to public transit, to the livable places of work, so that they can make these wedges, to have to not live in their vehicles with their children, and to live in these drug motels that they have been subjected to. They would also subject them to going back to prison, as well as these children's lives being at risk for random shootings, sex trafficking. I mean, it's just an array of difficulties and issues for an individual to be able to community reform without the essentials that they need. And that's the beginning, Ms. Trantham. That access to public transit to get to the livable wage jobs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Is my time up? Or did you start the clock? We can talk for a long time, but I would like to have, and I'll open up my heart to welcome you all to come down, including Senator Allen, as busy as he is. He did invite me to his office, but it shouldn't just have to be the weight on Senator Allen's shoulders. We are a collective Greenville County, and we want those who are coming to live here, to make Greenville their home, to feel proud and feel good, as we said about the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, with liberty and justice for all. These are tax-paying citizens, and their lives can, be reformed and rebuilt. I'm a living witness. I am a formerly incarcerated citizen.
Well, thank you for your being here tonight. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do in the community.
And I look forward to seeing you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Next on our list is Nicole House.
Good evening, legislators. My name is Nicole House, and I just first and foremost want to thank you. I'm holding a suicide ID badge. There were 10 children.
Ms. House, could you give us your address?
Oh,
also,
yes, I
for
would
the
love
record?
to.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Nicole House. My address is 112 Stonecrest Road, Greer, South Carolina, 29650.
Thank you.
Should I start?
Yeah, go right ahead with your badge.
Okay. So I just want to thank you for this badge. Senator Talley had helped us, Representative Cox, and you voted for this. There were 10 children, and I repeat, 10 children that have lost their lives. I'm an Army veteran. That means a lot to me. I've seen my friends, my counterparts take their lives. We're living in a pandemic, and we've had a lot of things happen since this started in 2020. And I would like to speak tonight on behalf of Greenville County School District, as I have a lot of experience in trauma recovery. I'm a business owner, Army veteran, and I have 2 teenagers. So more importantly, mental health has increased in K-12 since the pandemic started. This is crucial to formally address that children are struggling to learn, falling behind, being isolated from their peers through contact tracing and DHAC, and series of disruptions in the classroom. This is impacting our children's ability to learn and their emotional health. This year, there are unwarranted and extreme DHEC protocols that are not supported with data and medical evidence. The DHEC board making these decisions does not appear to be even maybe following some term limits. Why? However, the level of control DHEC has over our children is daunting. The school district even asked DHEC to revise their protocols as the county found out that 95% of the children quarantined did not have positive for COVID through close contact tracing. DHEC has disregarded the largest school district in the state. Why? This is data. This is medical evidence. So what we are noticing is that with close contact tracing, children are being sent home from 10 days, sometimes up to a month. Parents are struggling then to stay at home with their children if they're under the age of 12, quarantined and miss work and be in jeopardy of losing their jobs. Children have fallen behind dramatically in academics, and we have witnessed extreme issues of fear that is brought on by isolation and bullying children who are not vaccinated. The emotional damage is my greatest concern, as 95% of the children are healthy. So why then is this happening? The school district is losing millions of dollars with the absences. Greater Greenville Mental Health is operating in a deficit, and I've done some advocating for them too in the past and working in these extreme cases, as private insurance is not reimbursing for student counseling. And more importantly, that I've witnessed South Carolina insurance not even investigating. 1.4 million was paid out for many children experiencing anxiety and depression. However, only almost 200,000 was recovered. So why is that? Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Any questions, any comments from delegation members? Seeing here none, that brings us down to the next one on our list, Amanda Meyer. Amanda?
Amanda's not here. She had her child is sick.
Okay. Sorry to hear about that. Hope she's doing well. Hope she does well and recovers quickly. Thank you, Nicole. And the next one on our list is Melissa Witherspoon. Melissa? Welcome.
I'm Melissa Witherspoon. I'm at 223 Riverwalk Boulevard, Simpsonville, South Carolina, 29681. I'm here tonight as a parent and a teacher within Greenville County Schools to discuss COVID protocols and the ramifications it has placed on our children. Our society has become so consumed with COVID and DHEC's guidelines that it's become impossible to teach effectively. Why are we allowing DHEC to hold South Carolina's future prisoners? When education is limited, the future of our children and thus our state is limited to below average. 10 days of quarantine is equivalent to 5% of the school calendar year, 5% of a child's education. This could be the difference between an A or B student or a passing to a failing student. Truancy comes after parents for 10 unexcused absences. Why? Because being out that long is detrimental to a child's education. It is proven that 95% of students in quarantine remain completely healthy while receiving little to no education. A student could potentially need to quarantine more than once. Google Slides and work packets are not even close to instruction they receive from a teacher live. We are short on teachers and substitutes. So interventionists that were hired through the COVID CARES Act are being used as subs. They're not being able to do the job that they were hired to do, and that was intervene. Keeping a line of 25 students 3 feet apart is equivalent to standing on a goal line of a football field to the 25-yard line. There are many terms in our schools. The social distancing ideology is unsafe as teachers cannot see the whole class in line during transition. We are seeing behaviors that you would typically see out of a preschool classroom in third graders due to COVID protocols. The last normal school year third graders had was kindergarten. Our second graders do not even know what school is even supposed to look like. More kids are having to be referred to counselors and psychologists. We have to keep pushing and quit being fearful. Having people wear masks takes away facial expression and speech recognition and clarity. Teachers aren't able to see confused emotions or recognize needs hidden behind these masks. The emotions and physical effects of children wearing masks could be devastating for our future in this society because it's limiting the development of their communication skills. Our education system fails our students by keeping them out of what used to be normal live school and activities. Then the long-term effects will only diminish the future of our communities. Students are years behind, and furthermore, do not know how to interact like they should. We are failing them, and for what reason? There is no longer a life and death. This is no longer a situation about life and death of the individuals, the life or death of our future. As this has become a political charge, and our children are the arrows. Our public education continues to slip into a dark place. Teachers aren't leaving the profession because we're scared of COVID. They are too afraid to speak out and go against the grain. They don't want to be blackballed or lose their job, so they find another profession instead. Please help end these COVID protocols. Nelson Mandela stated it well. Education is the most powerful weapon for changing the world. And Lyndon B. Johnson stated, education is not a problem, it's an opportunity. Let's stop creating problems for our students, and our communities with the overabundance of protocols. And let's give them back the opportunity to be equipped for a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? I think Ms. Allison? Ms. Trantham said, did you pointed to you? I didn't, yeah. Ms. Trantham said you had a comment and a question.
Well, we do have a question. We just wanted to ask you what district you are employed with.
I am with Greenville County Schools at Bryson Elementary School.
Bryson. Okay.
I teach kindergarten.
Do you
There
get
are not
mandates?
mandates for masks, which I'm very thankful that the proviso, we stood up for that and our district decided not to do that. However, we are still trying to keep our kids 3 feet apart. And as a K-5 teacher, you make a turn, one kid gets lost and you can't see them.
Sorry, you mentioned that, just being exposed to COVID. Required to go home for 10 days. We were talking about that. We had the same situation with our business where I've got an employee, she's got home, and her child had to come home for 10 days because someone in the class exposed him. And he wasn't back for 2 days before he was exposed again.
Right. Oh, your mic, yeah.
He never had COVID through the whole process. So that really, I understand what you're talking about there as far as our kids being required to go home and quarantine when there's really, no reason for them to quarantine for 10 days.
My son was home for 10 days and got nothing. I got Google Slides from last year.
Yeah.
Nothing against his teacher by any means, because he did the best he could, but we're bombarded. We are tired. We don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And trying to keep up with who's missed what and when they're going to be out and when they're going to be back. It's very difficult.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming and speaking.
Thank you. Sorry, I walked away too fast.
Any further questions of Ms. Witherspoon? Ms. Witherspoon, thank you for your service. Thank you for your time as a teacher. We appreciate all that you do for our young people. And thank you for coming tonight. Nicole, have you got just a minute? Could you come back for just a second? I wanted to ask you a question. I think you said that there were 10 suicide deaths. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
In Greenville County this year?
Not just this year alone, starting May 2020, and then
Okay.
about 4 weeks ago, Riverside Middle, we lost a 13-year-old.
4 weeks ago?
About 4 weeks ago, Riverside Middle lost a 13-year-old.
Okay. And how many have we lost to COVID? How many kids have we lost in that?
I think I've heard one, but I think I'm not sure if it's official COVID or if there was other health issues involved. So I can't, I just know the ratios are extremely off.
Okay.
So we're not losing our children necessarily to COVID. It's more to suicides and them taking their lives.
Okay. All right. All right. Nicole, thank you very much.
Anything else? Okay. Sorry, I ran away too.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just wanted to say that my son attends Clemson, and one day a week they take a spit test to see if they have COVID or not. And
Yes,
so
ma'am.
They keep going to school. I don't know why we couldn't have something like that in the elementary and secondary school.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your comments. I'm sorry I was talking to her when I said yes, ma'am, not to you. That's okay. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda was Ms. Swearingen. Ann Swearingen, voting records.
Ann Swearingen, 127 Dove Haven Drive, Simpsonville.
Welcome.
Thank you. As usual, I'm here to address the constitutional carry law. I appreciate the fact that most of you voted in favor of the latest constitutional carry bill. However, I was very disappointed that so many so-called conservatives would vote for H3094. Of course, the bill you ultimately passed was clearly not what was needed. It was more a step back, not a step forward. Thanks to that bill, my gun rights can be restricted now by local cities and municipalities. In fact, many cities across the state have already voted and passed similar ordinances. Why most of the questions must be all be so complicated? The Second Amendment is very short and simple. So why does every bill that comes up regarding this situation have to be pages and pages of unnecessary rhetoric? Last June, when the latest bill was being voted on, I watched this on my phone and have never seen so much wasted time and so much discussion that was totally unrelated. It was just absolutely a waste of everybody's time. Since the majority of you are Republican and were elected with the platform of your gun rights and pro-life, why is there such opposition to these two matters? With both houses of Congress being majority Republican, why is there such a problem getting legislation on these two matters so hard to get passed? We voted for you to get into the office because we believe you supported us in our beliefs. So where is your vote?
Amen.
Are most of the Republican members in the House and the Senate really rhinos? When the next election come up, do we vote to re-elect, or do we find someone else that can go and vote for our wishes? Change is always hard, but now it appears that it's going to be necessary in both the Senate and the House. Thank you.
Ms. Warrington, thank you. Ms. Warrington, thank you for being here and thank you for your comments. Appreciate it very much. Any questions, any comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Corbin.
I had a question.
Ms. Warrington.
Ms. Warrington.
Ms. Warrington. You have a question?
No, Ms. Warrington, I represent District 5, Northern Greenville, Northern Spartanburg, and I was co-sponsor of the constitutional carry bill. And if you were watching the proceedings that day in the Senate, or those multiple days, did you see where we put an amendment up in the Senate to attach constitutional carry to the House bill?
No, sir, I did
So,
not.
well, we did. We tried to get constitutional carry passed in the Senate. We lost by, I believe it was 4 votes or 6 votes. So that'll tell you who the rhinos are. Okay, a lot of us voted for it, and we appreciate you coming and advocating for our Second Amendment rights. Appreciate it so much, and we'll keep trying for constitutional carry. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your efforts. And I do know that a lot of you did vote in favor, but sometimes the bill gets so complicated that it takes a lawyer, which most of you all are, to even be able
There's a few of them up here, but not, most of us aren't.
Most of you are.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm a farmer.
Oh, well, that's good.
I'm not going to point any of them out, but
It seems that most lawyers, when they write something, they got to put lots and lots of words that are totally unnecessary. So I think if we could just get a simple, this is what it is, or that, then we wouldn't have to go on and on and on with the rhetoric that we hear.
thank you, Mr. Swearingen. Appreciate your time and your comments. With that being said, Ms. Michelle Callahan. Callahan, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How are y'all? This is my first time here, so forgive me, I need to give my address, right? It's 214 Riverwalk Boulevard, Simpsonville, 29681.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Did you? You got it? Okay. She got it. All right. I think she had it on
I
your.
gave you my
after-
address. Did somebody get it?
Restart the time.
Oh, am I time for giving my address? 214 Riverwalk Boulevard, Simpsonville,
Okay.
29681.
Thank
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so my name is Michelle Callahan. I have two daughters at Malden High School, 9th and 10th grade. I'm just here as a parent and to share my perspective on parental freedom of choice and our rights. So with all the new COVID protocols that are now in place, the schools have lost focus on the emotional and academic needs of the students, families, and teachers. With the DHEC contact tracing protocol that was implemented in August, it has become challenging for high school students and their families to keep the students in school. I, along with a number of parents of high school students, do not feel the vaccine is in our teenagers' best interest due to the long list of side effects and the absolute lack of history. When a parent decides not to have their child take the vaccine, but comes in contact with someone who has COVID, they then have to quarantine for a minimum of 10 days, likely more. And so a healthy student who is not vaccinated is identified as a higher threat in contact tracing and is quarantined, whereas a vaccinated student is not quarantined. The problem with this is that vaccinated students still are getting COVID. So then, why are those who are not vaccinated being quarantined? I've heard of some families vaccinating their teenagers just so they are not penalized and kept from school. This is against the parents' medical freedom and wishes. Yet so many parents cannot afford for their children to miss more days of school as they've struggled academically last year and fell behind, especially in math and foreign languages. I've witnessed neighbors, lots of neighbors actually, healthy children being sent home from school due to contact tracing. And guess what? They remained healthy. This may very well be because most of us have already had COVID and our antibodies are likely sky high over the vaccinated. Yet antibodies are not taken into effect for some reason. Not to mention science says this virus or disease is not primarily spread by the kids. So now I have also been told that Greenville County school district does not agree with the contact tracing, as a new study shows that 95% of students being sent home from school are healthy and do not have COVID. If our students need to be in school for their academics or with their peers for emotional support, then why is DHEC ignoring that 95% of healthy students are being sent home? Greenville County Schools District is very data driven, and I have been told that are sharing this with DHEC. So then what is DHEC's agenda? Why do they say that all teenagers should be vaccinated? The children in Greenville County should not be penalized and kept out of school if they decide a vaccination is not in their best interest. Our children have been falling behind academically since March 2020. And with this control over and overreach that they have over our families, our students are experiencing anxiety and depression. Final up, our legislators need to rein in DHEC's control and come up with some checks and balances. DHEC should not have unilateral decision-making for the healthy students and their access to an in-person education, period. We are losing America as we know it. The folks that are trying to force these masks and vaccines on others should be ashamed. Our freedom of choice is quickly fading away. We, the people, are standing up, and we implore you to stand up for the kids and America's freedoms. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the delegation?
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said, any questions or comments from the delegation members? Seeing and hearing none. Michelle, thank you very much for your time and comments tonight. We really appreciate you being here,
Thank you.
and
Appreciate
wish you
listening.
well. And your kids, you have children where?
Malden High School.
Malden High School. Did you say two?
Two.
Two? Okay. All right. Go
Thank you
Mavs,
so
right?
much. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Regina Gay.
I'm Regina Gay, and I live at 11 Slow Creek Drive in Simpsonville. I'm talking about the push of technology in the classroom, and I don't know if it's completely due to COVID, but I know that it's definitely been an additional catalyst. Last year, we moved back from being 2 school years in Korea, and so we moved back to the area. We don't know anybody, and my kids don't know anybody. We enroll them in Bethel Elementary School. They're supposed to be going to school maybe one day a week. One of my kids did okay with the virtual, but she was done with her school within like an hour. And they're supposed to be doing things on the computer. My then third grader was seriously struggling. There was no end in sight for when they could go back to school. It was literally the entire day. Her husband can't go to work, he's watching the kids, trying to teach them, pulling our hair out. We pulled them out of Greenville County and put them in a charter school that was in person. Things did much better. But we're back at Bethel this year because we're in person, and we just had parent-teacher conferences. I'm asking, why do the kids need their Chromebooks charged every day? Why are they in their computers in the classroom? Isn't that the point of being in the classroom, to be taught by the teacher and not by boards and movies and games? That's what we did last year, and what doesn't work. And so the teacher actually said she's on board. She doesn't want to do it, but the district is pushing her to say, no, we need to do this. I understand testing is often on the computer. I don't think anybody here grew up on a smartphone, or I remember in middle school learning how to type with the little tissue over your hand. The kids aren't even taught those basic skills. They're supposed to be working on a computer and they don't know how to type. My son is failing his virtual math because he said 4 + 2 instead of 2 + 4, and that counts as wrong because of however the program is created, or he puts a space, or he just did it a slightly different program in the way he wrote it. And he's like, why did that get that wrong? And it's demoralizing. And the same thing with the testing in schools. We get sent home a report of math, they got a 95. Well, great, he missed one problem, and we know it's number 3 and he put a C instead of a B. I don't know what he's being taught. I don't know what he missed. I don't know what we're supposed to work on. How are we supposed to do that? And the teacher says we're not allowed to send the test material home. What are we supposed to do? I have to take time out of my work day to go to the school to go look at the material my kids are learning? That's completely unreasonable. Are you going to reimburse my employer for my lost hours since I have to come to school? It just doesn't make sense. The teachers are having to perform, as other people said, they're supposed to have work for in class and then for kids out of school. That's not their job. If people want to be in virtual school, there are already online schools that they can enroll in. The teacher shouldn't be having to make 2 completely different curriculum.
Mr. Office, do you have a question?
I have a question. What grade level? What grade level are your children in?
This year, they're in 2nd and 4th grade.
2nd and 4th. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Back to the 3 Rs.
Thank you, sir. Regina, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you coming tonight and speaking to the delegation. We really appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Karen Mann. Karen, are you here? Karen Mann?
Is that Bill Coleman here?
Not see, Bill Coleman is not going to be here tonight. Yep, sorry about that. I meant to mention that. Next, Jack Logan. Jack?
It's all Jack.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Jack Logan. I live at 5051 Old Augusta Road in Greenville, South Carolina. I was unaware that the state of South Carolina had a domestic violence registry. A friend of mine asked me if I would look and see if his name was on that registry. Well, when I looked, I was shocked at people on that registry for lifetime. Just like the Supreme Court asked the state lawmakers to review another registry and gave y'all, enough time to review it. When you see people on the registry for 3rd-degree domestic violence, most of them that's a misdemeanor. Those people should not be on the registry. I don't know. Now I'm asking y'all if y'all would go back and look at that to prevent a lawsuit that happened on another registry in this state, where the Supreme Court asked, all lawmakers to go back in to amend that law. Because most of you lawmakers, I hope you believe in second chances. When someone pull up the registry and they see men and women on that registry, and what's shocking, just say if I was on that registry, every woman or a man or whoever they accuse me of battering, your picture is on that registry that many times. And that's That's crazy. To have a person on that registry that many times. But I'm asking y'all if y'all would go back and look at that registry. Some of y'all are attorneys, and the registry never should have been there. Now, I can understand if it's aggravated and if a man go from woman to woman to woman or whoever they beat up. But yes, but to have people on there for second and third degree for life, that is, if you go in that registry, you'd be shocked. You may know a lot of people on that registry that's in your community. And I haven't looked to see if any lawmakers are on the registry. But people who live in the house with people, there's no two people gonna live in a house together without having a disagreement. And when some law enforcement come out there, they will write a citation for domestic violence. And those kind of people should not be on their registry. There are a lot of people on that registry that should not be, and it need to be looked at by lawmakers. And I ask y'all to inform the other colleagues in the state who serves in Columbia as well, because it's being ignored. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Any comments or questions from anyone in the delegation? Seeing here none. Next one on our list is Sarah Mag. Sarah?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to be able to address each and every one of you. On September 17th, 1780. Oh, I'm sorry. Sarah Mag, 211 Belmont Stakes Way, Greenville, 29615.
Thank you.
On September 17th, 1787, delegates left the Constitutional Convention from Independence Hall in Philadelphia. As they exited, Benjamin Franklin was asked, "What kind of government do we have?" "A republic," he replied, "if you can keep it." Ronald Reagan said in his first inaugural address, "And so we begin. Let us take inventory. We are a nation that has a government, not the other way around. And this makes us special among the nations of the earth. Our government has no power except that which is granted by the people. It's time to check and reverse the growth of government, which shows signs of having grown beyond the consent of the governed." With that being said, why are vaccine passports being implemented here in South Carolina? Vaccine passports should have no place in any of our businesses, schools, and other establishments. It's a violation of our rights. Why vaccine passport, one may ask? Well, it is to force you to get the social credit. The social credit score is to force you to obey the government. The government cannot deny you food, medicine, access housing, work, travel, healthcare, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Communist China. Currently, there are about 4 to 5 businesses in Greenville alone that are requiring vaccine passports, and many more statewide. Why are there not any penalties for these establishments? Vaccine passport creates a 2-tier society where the vax people overlap too closely for comfort with those who are already marginalized and discriminated against. Do you want to share your personal info with the globalists and everyone else who don't need to know your business? Because that's what vaccine passport is all about. Vaccine passport could be linked to other public or private data, which can then be harvested by big tech for their nefarious purposes. If we allow these vaccine passports, we are opening the doors to losing the little freedom we still hold. This cannot happen, and we need to stand strong. Florida will start to issue $5,000 of fines to businesses, schools, and government agencies anyone who's violating the no vaccine passport mandate. You need to start implementing those penalties to stop this now. Look at New York City. Look at California. Look at Colorado. Are we going to be next?
Ms.
That
Maggie?
depends on what you are all going to do
Ms.
about
Maggie.
it.
Ms. Mack, are you open for comment, questions?
I'm sorry?
Are you open for questions?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Burns.
I want to thank you for being here tonight. I happen to agree wholeheartedly with many or most or all of what you've said. As far back as some of us here, as far back as December of 2020, we began to file common sense bills knowing we were probably going in this direction. Unfortunately, we've gone way past where we thought we would go. We've actually filed bills not to force masks on folks. We filed back in 2020, pre-filed them. We filed bills at that time, making it where you couldn't issue a mandate back in 2020. Now we're closing out of 2021 now, so I'm going somewhere with this. And just because we have a pandemic going, that doesn't suspend our rights. It doesn't suspend the Constitution, right?
Correct.
And so, we filed bills, the right to try bill we have ready to file if we can ever get back in session, where any FDA approved drug can be used even if it's off label.
Yep, that's right.
We have the bill sitting on the desk, the $5,000 fine Florida bill is sitting in the pile. We also have filed a bill that would, if you order a mandate from your company, there's no liability on any of these emergency use so-called vaccines. And it would make you criminally and civilly liable if you force one of your employees to do that.
Thank you.
So now we have a twofold problem. Number one, we file these good bills and we can't get enough pressure and votes to get them passed yet. People didn't believe we would get where we've gotten. And, we virtually got out of session with a day or two in June, but on May the 8th or 10th, we've been out of session since then. We've not been able to get back into session to try to get some of these passed. We have what's called the sine die resolution, which prohibits some of this stuff. We think it's COVID related, but some people don't think any of these bills are COVID related, although they are. So I appreciate you being here. I wanted to let you know that you have some help. We just don't have enough help across the state yet till the people rise up.
Yeah.
And when they finally do, maybe we can stop some of this foolishness. Thank you for being here.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Mr. Corbin. Thank you. I had a question. I had a question. Please don't go because I want to talk to you. I thank you so much for coming tonight.
Oh, thank you.
I, like you, saw this coming months and months ago. And it is troubling to see our representative republic slipping from our hands with this never let a good crisis go to waste mentality that this nation is facing now. I filed Senate Bill S-177. Are you familiar with it?
No.
Okay, in a nutshell, it would prevent forced vaccinations. It would stop your employers from forcing you to get vaccinated. You couldn't lose your job, be demoted, anything like that. By a miracle, I got it through the Senate. Anybody that will tell you anything about the Senate, if a bill is contentious at all, it is extremely difficult to get through the Senate. But we did get it through the Senate.
That's awesome.
It's now residing over in the House. I filed the bill before session started last year, and we passed it in March. The House has been sitting on it. I believe most of the House members in this room here would wholeheartedly support it. And we are putting as much pressure as we can on the Speaker of the House to come back into session and deal with it.
Okay.
So thank you for that, for your comments tonight. And Representative Burns was right. We're only going to change this if we all get vocal and if we all make a stand, or we're going to lose the freedoms we have. So thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No, ma'am. Any other questions or comments? But appreciate it. We got a number of other people we got to take and get to. So with that being said, any other questions or comments from the delegation? Okay.
Can I
That brings us to Suzanne Pickens. Ms. Pickens, are you here? Ms. Pickens, are you here? Suzanne? Welcome. Yes, ma'am.
I am Suzanne Pickens, 258 Rockwood Drive, Greenville. First, I want to thank you. Very few are willing to serve, and so I am just grateful that you're here and giving us the opportunity to speak with you. We have 3 kids, 10, 6, and 2. The last time our 5th grader had a normal school year was her 2nd grade year. Our 1st grader's last normal year was when she was in 3K. Our 2-year-old has never known a world without masks. With a master's degree in elementary education, experience teaching in a Greenville County school, and a private tutoring business, I am overly qualified to fill in the gaps for my kids. And I had failed them, particularly my kindergartner, my 1st grader, who has lost really critical time for foundations and reading. Being a teacher to your own child is very challenging, to say the least. Most children need the structure of school. There are natural transitions and breaks and social cues that help them stay engaged and on task that you cannot recreate at home. We are nearly 2 years into this pandemic, y'all, with data to show that by the grace of God, our children are largely unaffected by this virus. And yet we continue to stick with this one-size-fits-all approach to slowing the spread. 95%, if you don't take anything else away from this night, 95% of the kids that we're sending home because they've been exposed, they stay well. My children were home for 20 days recently because I was sick. They stayed well the entire time, 20 days. And that was because I couldn't separate from them. 10, 6, and 2, there's no way for me to do that. It's not possible. 95% of them stay well. These kids started off a year behind. They're playing catch up from nearly a year out of school. But because our school districts follow the CDC and DHEC guidelines, they're being forced to stay home when 95% of the time it's proven unnecessary. There is value in these 3-letter, government health agencies, but we cannot continue living under the thumb of their mitigation strategies. Their job is viruses. Our job is to raise healthy, well-rounded citizens who contribute to this community in meaningful ways. We don't have the luxury to put nurturing their mental, social, emotional, spiritual, and academic well-being on hold in the name of stopping the spread of a virus that will ultimately become endemic. The school I taught in was a Title I school with more than 50% Hispanic students, mostly non-English speaking parents. I think all the time about them and how they're navigating this, the fears and concerns that they must have about their children falling behind. This isn't science. It's not compassion. It's certainly not common sense. This is an avoidance of liability and accepting a culture that is a fear that is not based in reality. The harm and disservice we are doing to these kids by allowing DHEC and CDC to dictate the amount of time that they get in a classroom is unconscionable. And we need your help to stop it. As far as I can tell, my understanding is that this is a state level problem. Oh,
your time's up.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the delegation?
Hey, I got handouts. Can I give them to y'all?
Have a handout? Sure. Spin it. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming tonight to speak to us. Appreciate it very much. Bruce Wilson. Mr. Wilson, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bruce Wilson, 14 Freestone Street. I'm the founder of Fighting Injustice Together, nonprofit organization based here in Greenville.
Sorry, what was the organization?
Fighting Injustice Together.
Okay.
I'm also a community activist. Lately, I've been in contact, or individuals have reached out to me with a very important issue, and that's sexual assault. These individuals have reached out to me because they have not been able to get their cases prosecuted because of a situation that has been happening here in South Carolina and in other parts of the country. And that's dealing with a backlog of rape kit, the rape kits. And from my understanding, after looking into this a little bit, I believe, and with the help of this delegation, that there was a law passed that governor was able to sign this year dealing with tracking rape kits here in South Carolina. And I have to thank this delegation for making sure that that law got passed. And I'm appreciative of that, because one thing that does is help victims of sexual assault believe that South Carolina, we take it serious, we stand up for you, and we believe in you. And so I want to thank this delegation for that. But there's also another issue with this. In a couple of days, I'm going to be holding an event in a predominantly African-American community. And we know that sexual assault in the Black community is underreported. And I do strongly believe that the bill that was signed this year by the governor could give victims of sexual assault the freedom, the encouragement, understanding to report it. And that's why I also believe that we need to do a little bit more. We need to make sure that we're standing up for these victims, give them just a little bit more strength, because this is something serious. And that's why I truly believe and thank this delegation, and also thank the General Assembly as a whole and the governor for even signing it. But we can't stop with that, because it's too important. When a victim tells me that their case could not be prosecuted because a rape kit was missing, that's painful. That hurts. Or someone comes and tell me that it's been 2 years and the person that assaulted my daughter is still walking the streets because they cannot go to court because there's a backlog here in Greenville, because there's a backlog in rape cases or rape kits. That's painful. And so when the bill was signed this year, or when the bill will go into effect next year, we know that SLED will be tracking these rape kits. And that's a good thing. But after reading the bill, I also noticed that the General Assembly left out something crucial with this. They didn't give them any funding. So it's one thing to pat ourselves on the back and say we've done a great thing by passing this legislation. But I think we have to make sure that we do the right thing and not set SLED up to fail, because this is too important. Make sure we give them all the necessary tools to make this successful, because it's too important. Because each one of these rape kits, there's a victim behind it. There's somebody behind it. And so it's one thing to say, yes, we passed this law, but let's make sure that the law is successful versus just mandating that SLED takes care of it. I've heard a lot of people talk about mandates. Well, think about this mandate that you gave to SLED. Shouldn't you also make sure that SLED is able to handle the mandate? Make sure that they're able to be successful in tracking every rape kit in South Carolina. How can you do it without funding? They're having to request funding. They just asked for $150,000. And I would ask that this delegation, as respectful as it is, to make sure that they don't have to request the funding. Make sure the funding is already there, because there is a victim behind each one of these cases. I truly appreciate the opportunity to stand before you tonight to speak. And I just hope that somehow we could do this. And it's great to be able to speak in front of my officials, Ms. Robinson, Senator Allen, Representative Dillard. It's good to be in the House when you can stand before your own elected officials. So I appreciate the opportunity. And I would just hope that at some point, I know that, you know, you're not in session now, but somebody would look at this. And I do appreciate y'all being able to pass this bill. Mr. Wilson, but please make sure we can get some funding. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Wilson? Mr. Wilson, thank you very much for your time and for your information. That brings us down to Savannah Saravia. Is that right? I'm sorry? Susanna Saravia? Welcome, Susanna.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm here. My name is Susana Saravia. I live in 613 Phillips Road, Greer, South Carolina, and I'm here to talk about the USA. Okay, when you look at this flag and today you stand, you looked at the colors and then symbolize something. And the red symbolizes hardiness and valor. The white symbolizes purity and innocence. And the blue represents diligence, perseverance, and justice. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people are scared. They are told you have to get a vaccine when a vaccine has stuff that it will harm their health or even cause their death. And the CDC is not showing the real results of what it does, but it's all global passports. So what happened to America? America has to stand in front of all the nations of the world because we have to have God on our side. You just pledge allegiance to God. So if you pledge allegiance to your God, you are by him and you're supposed to do what he tells you. And right or wrong, it doesn't come from us to dictate what is right or what is wrong. The Bible tells us what is right and what is wrong. And we need to read it and pray to God for mercy because it not only affects you guys, your children, your grandchildren, the whole world. You know, we need to pray to God to have mercy on us. And you know what the Lord says? The Lord says in Micah 6:8, he says, the Lord God has told us what is right and what he demands. See that justice is done. Let mercy be your first concern. So if somebody cannot do something, why pressure? Why pressure on them to have it done? Think about it. Think about your actions. Your actions will determine, you know, what you believe. If you believe in God and you believe in justice, then your actions will show. So, and he says, and humbly obey your God. So we need to go and obey Jesus with all our heart because he's the only one that can turn around this. He's our healer. He's our savior. Don't think that this vaccine will save you. No, it's trying to make a global corruption and the whole world and trying to mandate stuff to have a global, you will no longer be America. They're going to control you. So think about it. Think about the actions. I'm sorry, but you know, loving your neighbor is not to do harm. That's what God says in his word. So let's think about it.
Thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate you coming.
You're welcome.
Next up is any questions or comments from the delegation members? No? Candace Brewer? Ms. Brewer? Welcome, Ms. Brewer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Dr. Candace Brewer. I live at 40 Gentry Street, Greenville, South Carolina, 29611. I'm a community activist and I'm the founder of the South Carolina chapter of POST. POST stands for Protect Our Stolen Treasures. And our treasures are the ones that we're losing in the streets to senseless violence and also to police violence. We advocate throughout South Carolina against gun violence and for police accountability. We assist domestic violence victims. We assist homeless people. We assist the incarcerated with prison reform and helping them stay in contact with their families. We're basically out in the communities each and every day, 24/7. We show up at the crime scenes of victims. We assist the families. We do grief counseling. And we attend bond proceedings, bail proceedings. We attend court proceedings. We assist the community with each and every one of their needs. We're a nonprofit 501(c)(3) organization. Even though we are a nonprofit, we receive absolutely no funding. Even though we're in the community every single day, I take funding out of my own pocket. So I am respectfully asking the delegation to help fund the organization. With your funding, it will help me be able to house domestic violence victims, because when they call now, if there's no shelters available, we transport them to a hotel and give them funding. We transport them to a hotel and give them housing for a couple of days or until a domestic violence shelters open up. Your funding will also help with the vigils that we have in the community for the gunshot victims. So we respectfully ask that the delegation consider funding our organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Robinson?
Appreciation for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Because we all know that our community, as affluent as we are in Greenville, is riddled.
Yes, ma'am.
Every day when we turn on the TV, we see stories of shootings. So the work that you're doing is very important, and
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Anyone else? Ms. Brewer, thank you very much for your time and thank you for your comments tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Next up is Stephanie Lee. Stephanie?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stephanie Leap, 226 Golden Bear Walk. It's Duncan 29334. I am a proud American, a patriot, a small business owner, and a wife and mother. And I am concerned about our state, and I'm concerned about our city tonight. We know that school districts get a lot of federal money, and most of them employ more than 100 people. The status of the federal vaccine mandate rests not with the Department of Education, but with OSHA. South Carolina is one of only 28 states in the country that has an OSHA-approved workplace safety plan, which means the federal vaccine mandate could very well apply to our Greenville County schools. McMaster has said he will fight these vaccine mandates to the gates of hell, yet we have not seen any action. I greatly appreciate what I've heard so far tonight about the bills that have already been drafted. And please, if we can get information from you on what we need to do to help mobilize our people to make this happen, that's what we want to do today. I know none of you would be able to live with yourself if a child was vaccine injured or worst of all killed as a result of taking this experimental medicine. Let me remind you that we do not have an FDA approved vaccine on the market right now. The Pfizer BioNTech vaccine received an extension of the EUA, and the Comirnaty vaccine will not be available at the earliest until January of 2022. Therefore, this is still an experimental medicine. Rachel Walensky herself told us that the vaccine does not stop the spread. She said that on CNN last week, which makes the vaccine at best a therapeutic and at worst causing ADE, antibody dependent enhancement. This is when the antibodies that the vaccine generated actually help the virus infect a greater number of cells within the body than it would have on its own. Dr. Fauci told us himself that the amount of virus in the nasal cavity of a vaccinated person and an unvaccinated person is virtually the same. We also know that the amount of that virus in your nose is what will determine whether or not you're able to spread it. Considering that we're supposed to be following the science, why are we not listening to these two top scientists and doctors telling us that vaccinated and unvaccinated people spread the virus at the exact same rate? Considering the policies in Greenville County schools that require, as we've heard from so many people, minimum 14-day quarantine if you've had a close contact, how is this not discrimination? The vaccinated children and the unvaccinated children are at the very exact same risk. And praise the Lord, as others have said, that this vaccine does not harm our children, yet we are using them as a testing ground for failed policies from a tyrannical president. Safe and effective, really? Are any of us willing to put ourselves on the line for that statement? Would any of you put your livelihood, your home, your retirement on the line to say that these are safe and effective? There's no long-term studies, control groups were eliminated, and there are massive numbers of reports from the VAERS database that have not been evaluated. It should be a jumping off point at best. We know that every one of those probably are not from the vaccine, but why have there not been more autopsies on people who have died as likely a result of taking the vaccine? Until we have answers, we say no to vaccine mandates, no to vaccine passports, and we need your support as this legislative body to support us in that measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the members? Seeing here none. Thank you all for coming tonight to
Emailed Ms.
address.
Bennett to speak. I'm not on the list, but I emailed her about noon today to speak. Never got any information for her to approve it or disapprove it.
Yes, ma'am. The deadline for getting in your request for being on the agenda was when? Thursday? Tuesday of this past week. So apologize for that. We will be happy to take and
It
make
had
sure
been
that,
Tuesday last.
ma'am, if I could finish. Yeah, if I could finish, ma'am,
Sir?
if I could finish. Ms. Bennett, would you make sure that her name gets on the next agenda? Thank you very much. We will have you at the top of the list on our next agenda. Apologize for that. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Yes, sir.
All
I'm
right.
glad to be here.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate you being here and taking advantage of having your opportunity to take into headdress, into redress, get your redress with our delegation members and your elected officials. Hope you all have a safe and pleasant night. May God be with you. With that being said, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Yeah, good. Well, I'm so. I must have known you from somewhere. I can't tell. Yeah. Hey, yeah, good to see you. How you doing?
Thank you. What was his name? Gary? Oh, yeah, I've got. Greenville, RG
Cesaro. You're a family court in the first district. Okay, and that is in what's the district? Dorchester. Really? Did you work with the family court system here? No, I was just. Where? Did you? I don't have.
Okay. Yeah, I try to pull up. Yeah. Yeah. Me and Kitty. I love this kid. Yeah, she know this way. They all. Yeah, she was yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm doing my best. You know, people they get out of the they don't have a chance. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Set up for the stand.
Where the car go? See, he got his hands away from me. Carl Allen. But I'm not gonna beg them. I'm gonna bring all them people with me. Yeah. With their t-shirts on, I'm gonna go to them.
Oh, that'd be a great idea.
I am. They're gonna fill it up.
You need to put your name back on.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my director of development put it right back on.
Yeah, and bring everybody. You see how those back team back there, people, you know, they had all their people back there. Clapping.
That's why they get with that.
Yeah, because they come out in numbers.
Mm-hmm. They know how to get what they
Yeah.
I thought it was supposed to have been a reception after this with some food at.
Oh.
I'm gonna go talk to Leola and
Sunday morning. You got a notice at church. My granddaughter, she said, I practically dad over she granddaughter born in voluntarily. So the next night, had the test. Nobody else in the
Oh, I'm perfectly fine.
See you there. Please do. See you there.
Hi, Representative Smith. I'm Stephanie Merrill, post security. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I was the one that called you the other day. And I just wanted to formally introduce. I did just introduce myself. Yeah, so. Well, it's nice meeting you. Thank you.